Alright, and welcome back to Zanpakuto Creation Series. This one comes to us from, the name of the person is Mira Joan Strausen Fairy Tale? I might be getting that middle part name wrong. But you asked, what is the Zanpakuto of Ninjago's Wyplash, although it's spelled W-Y-P-L-A-S-H? So look, Ninjago characters are always difficult for me, and I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm just not into Ninjago, but I always struggle a little bit with these characters. But so he's basically a character called I believe it's a Skulkin. He died dishonorably, joined the armies of the undead. He is the general of the ice region or something like that. And he's known as being both intelligent but cruel at the same time, liking torture. And, you know, I thought on that. I'm like, I can work with that concept. All right. So I thought on it for a little while. I'm like, I like this. So he, in my opinion, would actually have, and I'm going to just angle this photo just a little bit better. There we go. Boop. There we go. He, I think, would have an elemental type Zanpakuto. Now, because he's the general of the ice, I am bringing the ice into the equation here. But I'm twisting the ice a bit. So, his standard sword would still be a katana, like most of them are. His release, though, is Burn Cold, Scalding Glacier, or Sakakunetsu no Hyoga. Hyoga. I wanted to say Hyuga, but that's not what it is. Hyoga. Its Bankai would be Winter's Inferno, or Fuyu Yamakaji. I believe I got that right. Yamakaji. And again, I use Google Translate. I'm not really all that. I can't translate that crap. Sorry. It's his spirit as one of the more animalistic ones, I would think. Being a very hulking ape, like a giant yeti, but with like pitch white ice-like fur. But like that's always like sizzling almost. Its Shikai form, though, it takes the form of a bone-like whip with a blade at the end of the tip. Now, where this is different than something like, say, Zavamaru, which is obviously very different in that regard, because that is a giant whip blade, is that this, A, is a whip, but B, it actually is an elemental type, like I said. What it does is that once the tip strikes something, it basically strikes and hits a certain amount of ice forms. Harder to hit, the larger amount of ice. It's kind of like a kinetic energy thing. This makes it ideal for mid-range. It also makes it ideal for keeping individuals at bay, because not only if he starts moving his whip wildly, and just starts saying things randomly, it's going to just start building ice up like crazy. But there's a catch to this. His ice isn't cold. It is still ice. By all accounts, you look at it, it's still ice. And it doesn't even melt in the heat or anything, or it could still melt in the heat, but either or regardless, it's ice that burns. Now you might be thinking, well, ice will still burn, like, you know, the cold can still burn you. Yes, but I'm not talking about cold. I'm talking about it's almost like fire, but in the form of physical ice. And that's why I like the concept of melding two opposites together in a way that isn't contradicting. Because it's Bleach, you can do some of the wackiest shit you can think of when it comes to Zanpakuto abilities. And so in this, when ice forms on someone, they start to burn and they keep burning. Like, as long as they're in contact, they keep burning. And theoretically, they could burn. It's almost like acid to a degree. So I guess you can liken this either to like acidic ice, or ice that is just like the heat of fire or something like that. But the difference is, like, fire can hit you, it can like start to spread and burn, but it's easy to snuff out fire. Ice, depending on how strong the ice is, you can't snuff that out that easy. If you get ice suddenly like just all over your arm, you got to break that ice off. This ice just keeps burning through your arm. In theory, you can burn straight through your arm given enough time. The Bankai is just a much larger reflection of this, where I think of it almost like a like a Doc Ock kind of spider style thing, where there's multiple whips, large whips on his back, as well as him gaining another whip in his hand. And in essence, he's just a walking octopus spider of ice and doom and death, producing more ice, multiple things of ice, wrapping someone up with his with the coils of his whip so he can just freeze them in place. I could see him theoretically hitting the air, forming ice, and then launching it at individuals. So I like this in concept overall. Maybe he could just do kind of a Hitsugaya to some degree and form large things of ice. Well, again, his ice is burning, not freezing. But I didn't want to make him too much like Hitsugaya, because we know Hitsugaya has the strongest ice-based Zanpakuto. Ice and water-based Zanpakuto. Just like Yamamoto has the strongest fire-based Zanpakuto. So, yeah, the weaknesses of this Zanpakuto, though, would most likely be that, like I said, though it burns, it's not cold, it's hot. In theory, it could still be overwhelmed by enough heat. Also, because it's hot, not cold, it actually could be susceptible to things like cold or water. Enough water could theoretically douse it. Of course, enough water can melt ice, too. Someone with enough spiritual energy or someone who's just physically strong enough to crack through that. Again, the Kenpachi and Ichigo, your heavy hitters would be able to just kind of crack through it without any real difficulty. It's also mid-range to semi-long range, but it's not you couldn't like fire like a Sero, and just hit someone from like 100 feet away. That's just not what this Zanpakuto. That's not how this works. It's also not a power type Zanpakuto too. If this thing clashes it's not really a melee type in that regard, because it can hit and strike and maybe even grab a sword, but this thing can't clash in a duel with someone. This thing is designed for keeping people at a distance and striking them. So, unfortunately, it's in theory, the best you could do is just wrap it mostly around your torso, hold the blade tip in hand, and kind of fight close range with that if you had to. But that's like a worst case scenario and a very bad scenario. Although, because you have the tip, any strike you do with the blade could be advantageous in putting like burning ice on you or on the opponent. So I don't know, there's that concept as well. This, though, is the concept I have created for this character. Let me know if you like this or if you dislike it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, though. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you folks next time.